Hello, folks. Welcome back. Chris in Central Pennsylvania. As expected today, the 8th of April, President Cyril Ramaposa has received and accepted the credentials of 20 diplomats from around the world, including U.S. Ambassador Bozell to South Africa. Now, a lot of what occurred today was simply the normal Vienna Convention, pomp and circumstance, the process that should be followed. But Cyril Ramaphosa chose to use this occasion to lecture the United States specifically in this conversation. And it's ironic, and it's the highest order of hypocrisy given the things he's claiming that he does not do, and he's directing comments at the United States. Cyril said that ambassadors should never criticize their host countries publicly in a confrontational manner. Really? Hey, Cyril, are you familiar with Ibrahim Rasool? Have you heard of that guy? Yeah. And that's the one time that he was exposed. How many times did he do this publicly that no one bothered to report on because the press is corrupt? Ramaphosa said, now this is related to antagonizing the United States. There are many people in South Africa that think that a new day has dawned, that relations will improve between South Africa and the United States. I believe many of those folks are also some people that seem to think that relations are sour because of Donald Trump, when in fact relations are in the tank because of the actions of the ANC over the past 25 years. And progressively gotten worse. In fact, as I've told people many, many times, it was a Democrat and Republican in the Biden administration who proposed sanctions against the leadership of the ANC in 2024 before Trump ever even came back to office. But people seem to be obsessed with blaming Donald Trump for the shortcomings and failures of the African National Congress and its hostile foreign policy towards the United States and towards the West in general. But this is what Ramaphosa had to say. We further call on all countries to respect international law and the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nations. Really? Really? Is that why you've invaded Comoros 3 times in the past 20 years? Is that why you've invaded Lesotho twice in the 1990s? Now, you call it peacekeeping, but it wasn't peacekeeping. We saw what happened. Is that why you've spent 25, almost 30 years in the DRC with troops selling weapons, running drug schemes and prostitution rings, and then when confronted by rebels running away because they had no medevac helicopters, no body armor, no tents, insufficient ammunition? Yeah, you're not really one to lecture. The territorial sovereignty of nations, is that why South Africa ships combat helicopters to sanction Libyan warlords? Is that why South Africa allows its citizens to participate illegally as mercenaries in Ukraine, killing Ukrainians? Is that why? The list goes on. Well, we just recently saw the United Nations talk about how South Africa has violated the human rights of the Boermag suspects with unreasonable trials, 11 years, and a refusal to allow them to appeal the convictions that they had in the railroaded case against them. And don't get me wrong, I'm not supporting Boermag, and what they did was treasonous, if they in fact did it. The point here is that due process wasn't followed. South Africa has the audacity to lecture these ambassadors on upon arriving. And I'll continue specifically about the behavior of ambassadors and what Cyril claims he says. As president, whenever I appoint ambassadors and high commissioners to your country, I expect them to respect your country, sovereignty, and promote good relations between our two nations. Really, is that what Ibrahim Rasool was doing? Is that why South Africa colluded with the Biden regime to send him there to be appointed days before Trump took office to undermine the Trump administration? And then Rasool went around the country, bad-mouthing the United States, calling it a white supremacist country and attacking its president, saying he's leader of global white supremacy. Is that what your intent was, Cyril? The hypocrisy here is beyond belief. He continues. He says, whenever I send our ambassadors and high commissioners to various countries, I always make a point to inform them that they should never criticize their host countries publicly and in a confrontational manner, but should always seek to raise issues privately and constructively. Let's talk about 3 episodes here. Number 1, of course, is Reuben Brigidi. The United States, for 5 months, privately and constructively asked the South African government, what the hell is going on? Why are you sending arms to Russia during this conflict? The Lady R incident. The South African government rebuffed every private diplomatic request that was done privately, not exposed to the public, and ignored the United States government for 5 months, arrogantly dismissing our ambassador in Pretoria. After 5 months, Washington told Brigidi, gave him the green light, enough is enough. Have a press conference and disclose this. Only then, and only after public pressure to want to know answers about what happened, was a so-called commission appointed. And we never got a satisfactory answer. So that's the first one. That's the first one, okay? Publicly and privately. It was done privately, but your arrogance ignored the request of the U.S. government, never answered our question, just ignored us completely. So we did it privately. Now, the next is Brent Bozell. Brent Bozell expressed a private opinion in a public forum at a business conference in which he promoted South Africa endlessly and spoke about the values of relationship with South Africa and about potential for South Africa going forward. And he also laid out the fact the United States government had several issues that need to be addressed in order for relations to be improved. But the South African government really focused on one point. And that point was, of course, that Brent Bozell said, in his opinion, he basically doesn't care what the courts have said. And I understand why, because the South African courts are contradictory. Over 20 years ago, they declared kill the Boer hate speech. And then more recently, in the climate of anti-white racism, they said it's okay for that to be sung. It's not okay for it to be sung. It's an incitement to violence. And that alone should ban it. I mean, hate speech, that's ridiculous. But it is incitement to violence. And it has led to violence and the murder of white South Africans on farms because of the song. And we have the evidence of it. Blood scroll in the wall, kill the Boer. So Bozell expressed a private opinion in a public forum, and he was demarched for that. I don't recall that we demarched Ibrahim Rasool. We just deported him. So that brings us, we've got Brigitte privately discussing things and the South African government ignoring it. We've got Bozell expressing a private opinion and being treated like a school child by a repulsive behavior by the likes of Ronald Lamola, who doesn't know anything about anything. And then finally, let's talk about Ibrahim Rasool. Ibrahim Rasool, if you make a point of telling your ambassadors not to publicly embarrass or harass their host nations and promote good relations, what the hell was Ibrahim Rasool doing in America? He had been here before under Barack Obama as the ambassador, and you sent him back to intentionally antagonize the Trump administration because your party is failing domestically and you have no answers, because your members of your party are stealing so much money and destroying the country in so many ways, in so many places, and your only recourse is to resort to race hustling, dog whistling, and to blame the United States and specifically blame Trump for all your failures. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. If you are telling your ambassadors not to behave this way, then why did Rasool behave that way? And why didn't you recall him? Why did the United States have to PNG him, persona non grata, and kick him out of the country? You never recalled Ibrahim Rasool, did you? He was sent back with his tail between his legs after being a racist, race-hustling, slimy, smarmy ambassador in the United States. Yeah, so I'm sorry. And you care about sovereignty and world order and peace, really? It's reported today that South Africa sold $550 million worth of armament in 2025 alone, 10.1 billion rand. Now, a lot of that went to Europe, but not exclusively. Some went to Africa, including vehicles and aircraft. Yeah, Kenya, Ghana, Malawi. Kenya got 34 vehicles. Ghana got 30, Malawi 15, Cameroon 11. Yeah, so South Africa promoting peace? Nah, this is just dishonest. So this lecture from Ramaposa is hypocrisy of the highest order. And it's sad to see this. Why don't you just greet the ambassadors, welcome them, ask them to build good relations between your country and theirs, and that should be it. But instead he chooses to lecture the United States about Iran and choose to lecture the ambassadors, but the target wasn't Cuba. The target was Brent Bozell in the United States. This will be passed over. The United States will not take offense to this, but it is offensive. It's repulsive, but it is the norm for the African National Congress. What say you, South Africa? Mzansi. Cheers.